It's now my pleasure to introduce the head of the IDF Planning Directorate, Major General Nimrod Sheffer, to give us a security overview of the situation in Israel and the Middle East. Major General Sheffer. As Major General Sheffer comes, I'd also like to say a special word of thanks to all our organizers and our fantastic production team in the back, and to my managing editor, David Brin, who put out a very special magazine that you should all have in your packages. So thank you to him, and happy birthday, David. There seems to be a slight delay. After we hear from General Sheffer, there will be a special panel on Europe-Israel, threats and opportunities, and that will be followed by an address by the U.S. Ambassador, Dan Shapiro, and finally, the Honorable President of the State of Israel, Reuven Rivlin. So without further ado, Major General Nimrod Sheffer.
Good morning. It is quite a challenge to try and present the defense challenges that Israel is facing in about 15 minutes. And more than the challenges, what we are about to do, or what we plan to do in order to cope with the challenges. And I would like to start with what we may call, and we call, the most dramatic change in the Middle East, in our neighborhood, which is a dramatic and basic and profound change in the region, which I'm not going to go deeper, because I think that what happened here during the last 4 years is very well known to everybody here, but it inflicts major and significant issues on the Israeli Defense Forces that drive us on a daily basis to change, and I'm going to touch a little bit these changes. What we see in the dramatic change has a lot to do, of course, with the countries around us. Where are the countries around us? Some of them are not any longer can be called states, countries, but the profound changes has a lot to do with, of course, the civil society, the youth, the economy, and all the basic and fundamental issues that promise us that the fundamental change in the region, in the Middle East, is not about to end. And we are going to face a very unstable and a very challenging neighborhood during the next years. Of course, during the next year and during the next years as we estimate and analyze. I'd like to touch in a few words the Iranian issue in two different aspects. The first one, of course, is the nuclear ambition and the nuclear program that Iran is constantly during the last decade or even more is pushing forward. And now, since about a year and into the next 6 months, we are living in a situation that the P5+1 is trying to cut a deal or to reach an agreement with Iran. And under this kind of reality, we have to ask ourselves very serious questions about whether or not this kind of agreement can stop Iran from trying to reach nuclear capacity, and by that being, of course, a nuclear state, regional and worldwide superpower, or an agreement like that won't have the capability to stop the program and just be a cover for the next move that, or moves that Iran will be able to do underneath the surface. So the first one, the first issue that I want to touch concerning Iran is, of course, the nuclear program and what we have to do in order to be ready to deal with it. The second is the Iranian regional influence, talking about their influence in Syria, their influence in Hezbollah, and what's the meaning for Israel from the very big support that Iran gives Hezbollah. Iran, of course, is present in Iraq, as you well know, in Syria, and in Lebanon in the shape of Hezbollah. And the challenges we see in Hezbollah, of course, the basic interests against Israel. Other than that, the most important challenges we see coming from the side of Hezbollah is, of course, its capability to present great threat on Israel in the form of tens of thousands of ballistic rockets and missiles. And the change and improvement in that arsenal is very dramatic during the last years and during the next year as we see it. There are going to be many more, talking about quantitative change. They are going to be much more precise. They are going to have much larger warheads. And if I'm talking about the threat as we knew it during the last decade, it's going to be a totally different change when you have in Lebanon tens of thousands of ballistic, accurate, and heavy missiles. Then your ability to threat Israel is endangering Israel dramatically. So if I'm talking about Iran on those two phases, first of all is the nuclear, and the second is its support to the instability here in the close region, in the closer Middle East, by supporting Hezbollah and by supporting all the other terrorists around us. The second issue that has a lot to do with the basic instability here in the region is, of course, the Salafi Jihadiyya, which we all know as a new phenomena, and I'm not sure that we all understand, and we have to be modest enough to realize that since it's a new phenomena, relatively new phenomena, we don't really understand it deep enough, and we don't have the enough knowledge, the enough analysis system, the enough tools, or the sufficient tools to deal with it. And we have to deal with it a lot in order to have this capacity. The Salafi Jihadiyya enters those cracks that I just mentioned in the region. It enters every weak point it finds. It does so in Syria, of course, in Iraq. It does so in Sinai Peninsula. It will do if it will be able to in Lebanon. I hope they won't. They fight in Lebanon, and they just penetrate every crack and every weak point that they find, and by that enhancing their grab in the surrounding. And if we look at those Salafi Jihadiyya people around Israel in a close neighborhood, we can see, or we can paint a crescent around us as the Sunni Jihad crescent. This is a 360-degree threat on Israel, as I mentioned, from Iraq, Syria, I hope not Lebanon, already Sinai Peninsula. As an idea, it's a very attractive idea for many, many people, and you know that. There are many people joining this Islamic State or al-Nusra coming from all over the world, coming from Europe, the Far East, the Americas, from all over, even from Israel. As an idea, it's a very appealing idea. And more than that, the phenomena as a phenomena, it's a non-linear phenomena, meaning it doesn't have to move from point to point geographically. And that's very dangerous. In order to be present in the Sinai Peninsula, they didn't have to take a truck or a jeep or something and drive from, let's say, Iraq to the Sinai Peninsula. The idea jumps from place to place, and it expands non-linearly. And I think this is one of the most dangerous thing about this phenomena. And the last point, when I'm talking about the basic instability or the closed region, is of course the Palestinian arena. We're talking about Gaza Strip after the operation, and the instability in Gaza Strip is due to Hamas regime that doesn't do almost anything to support its civil society, uses the funds and the money that starts to flow into Gaza Strip to military capability enhancement. And the need in Gaza Strip is very dramatic. The need for rebuilding Gaza, to rebuild its infrastructure, to rebuild housing for thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, is very dramatic. And we see the instability in that region basically due to the incapacity of the Hamas regime to rule Gaza. If I'm going to the West Bank, just a few words. We are sorry for the death of Minister Abu Ain, of course. We think nobody should die while protesting. And we will investigate every one of the soldiers that were there in order to find what really happened there. And this is our, of course, responsibility. One word about the West Bank. We see the security coordination as a very, very important part of the security of both sides, Israel and the Palestinian Authority, and we'll do whatever is necessary to keep it as it is right now. When I'm looking at the side of the opportunities of what we have to do in order to be able to face the challenges I just presented, first I have to say that this profound change that I just described in the region, in the Middle East, must drive Israel, especially Israeli defense forces, to very dramatic and profound changes in our system. I think we are going to face longer campaigns, even if the basic will, if I can say so, of Israel is to shorten as we can every military campaign. I think we must face the reality we just saw during last summer in Gaza. The campaigns might be longer than we wish or than we evaluated in the past. We have to think about different tools. I'm not sure that the tools that we had developed during many, many years of fighting regular armies are as efficient as they should be now. We have to be able to develop not only military tools, but also soft and what we call smart tools. It's not only those aircraft, those tanks and missiles and rockets, but other kind of tools. I'll touch it in a second. We will be able to be, and we'll have to be, very proactive. We cannot just sit here and wait till those IS guys will reach the borders of Israel. And as you know, Al-Qaeda is already there in the Golan Heights, in Quneitra crossing. So we will have to be very, very proactive. For that, we need only one thing that during the last 3 years, the state of Israel doesn't provide us, it's stability. I'm talking about planning stability, not operational. I know that there is nothing like operational stability. It's not there. But we must have a way to be more stable in our plannings. We need to have a multi-year plan. We need to have at least an horizon in order to be able to plan in the right way and to develop the right tools Israel needs. And I hope that in the next 6 months will present us this kind of horizon. We are going to have a new chief of staff, and I think, if I'm learning from history, it is a very good opportunity for us to design a plan for the next 5 years or even decade. And that's a challenge that I'm facing on a daily basis, and I think is one of the most dramatic challenges that the IDF is standing in front of. We will have to be ready really to change, not just saying we are changing, but to really mean it. We need to have a strong defense. We saw during July and August what strong defense means, be able to defend Israel's civilian society from all those missiles and rockets. I think we have it. We'll need to improve it. We'll need to develop a very strong capability in the cyber dimension. I think it's a very common notion all over. We'll have to do it, and we invest as much as we can in developing our capacity in that. We'll have to be more capable in operating together, joint operations, decisive maneuver. We will have to be more accurate, more sophisticated, and with a long capacity and the capability to fight as much as needed. Because I think, and I said it just a few minutes ago, that we must understand that wars or campaigns might be much longer than they used to be. We see a great opportunity in the fact that the world around us, not only the region, but the international community, understands the threat of IS and the threat of Al-Qaeda, and the fact that there is a coalition working or operating here in the region is the most dramatic change, I think, in the realization of the world that there is a problem that we have to fight together, that we have to learn together how to fight, and we have to learn together what its weaknesses and how to defeat it, as the United States President declared. This is an opportunity in our eyes. We have to be very decisive, and we have to be ready to increase the capacity of those ring of stability around us, meaning the Kingdom of Jordan and Egypt, which are a very good and basically good partners of Israel, and creates around us a ring of stability, which provides us a lot of security. One of our challenges is the ability to say who's a friend and who's an enemy. Back in the past, it was very easy to look at somebody and say, okay, he's a friend. Now it is very tricky. It's not that easy to say who's a friend and who's an enemy. You can find a friend that has different agenda towards different entities around you. So we developed this concept of frenemies. Sometimes they can be enemies, sometimes they can be friends, depends on the concept, depends on the context, depends on many, many other issues which we never faced in the past. Usually we had enemies and friends, lots of enemies, not so friends. Now it is much more complicated, so we have to be much smarter than we used to be. And last point I want to touch is the economy. We must learn to use our advantages, economy-wise and others, as tools in enhancing Israel's national security. Israel is facing energy security. We have enough energy for our needs. Every citizen in Israel has its fresh water. Every citizen in Israel has, almost everybody has a very good education. We must learn how to use these, and I call them weapons, in order to increase our national security. For example, many of you know the idea of the Red Sea, Dead Sea tunnel, the way to bring water from the Red Sea to the Dead Sea, and by that producing electricity and fresh water to Jordan or to the Palestinian Authority. There's no reason why we won't use the energy that we have in order to increase partnerships, and by that our national defense and national security. Just to conclude in a few words, I think that in front of this very storming reality we are facing during the last 4 years, and as I believe during the future and the profound changes in the neighborhood, we must be able to change ourselves in as deep as manner as needed, and not just as a lip service, but really change the IDF and the Israeli system to the needs in front of the Iranian influence here, in front of Hezbollah and the other, and of course the jihadists around us. So we are going to, and that's my challenge, we are going to change.